Well, the water, I don't know.
It's like 3 has about 2,000, about 2,500 people. So that's almost half. It is pretty much half.
Redistricting.
Like we're using the roads to do it. Like nobody's into it. Nobody's making money around it. When we're on the charter committee, and we were looking at that. It's looked at the populations and all that, and 3's way out underrepresented. That's why it's usually competitive, and there's so many other people, and then we can't always pull somebody from the other side.
So you're in.
No, lower. We're lower. 2's the lowest, I believe. Because that's just that. Yeah.
So we need to be finding someone that would be good.
As of right now, no, it's a no for me. And it's not because it
I'd like to call tonight's meeting to order and thank everybody for being here. At this time, I'd like for you to silence your phones, don't forget to silence your phones, and join us for the invocation with Pastor John Little.
Let's bow our heads together. Great God, thank you for an absolutely stunning day. Every big blessing we noticed and all the small ones we didn't. This is Valentine's Day. A lot of love is being shared. A lot of love is being expressed. And we're grateful for that. But help us, God, to remember to give our hearts to you. Help us to remember to give our love. You've already shared your love. It was your greatest Valentine's gift to us was Calvary, and it's still in action. Ask you today, God, to bless in this meeting tonight. Would you bless all of these leaders who have been elected to serve our city? I pray that you give them guidance. I pray that you give them godly and divine wisdom. And I pray, God, that you would send your peace and your help and even a great revival to Bowie. Bless our homes, bless our families, and just bless us as a cohesive unit, as a community. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So tonight, under the items of community interest, I have an announcement for the March 26th event, which is the 19th annual Jim Bowie Car Show. Cindy Roller is a member of the Piston Heads, which is our local auto club. So if you have any questions, you're welcome to direct them to her. Unless anybody else has any other items, that's the only one I know of that's coming up immediately. Our next council meeting will be February the 28th. Put that on your agenda too. And then we're going to move forward to a proclamation that we would like to make for the Texas Treasure Business Award. So I'm going to come forward. For those of you that don't know, we have a 100-year business with the Bowie News. For your Bowie News. Bowie News Texas Treasure Business Award, whereas the Texas Treasure Business Award program pays tribute to businesses that have provided employment opportunities and support to the state's economy for 50 years or more. Obviously, you're a lot more than 50 years. Whereas the Bowie News, located at 200 Walnut Street, has been a staple of the community since 1922. Whereas the Texas Historical Commission presents this award to the Bowie News for their exceptional contributions toward the economic growth and prosperity of Texas. And whereas the Bowie News has become an award-winning publication with first place accolades in the Texas Press Association News Picture Award in 1965 and the West Texas Press Association first place General Excellence in 1972. Whereas the City of Bowie would like to extend our appreciation to the Winter family, Barbara Green, and the newspaper staff for continuous service to the City of Bowie and Montague County. Now therefore, the City of Bowie congratulates the Bowie News on the accomplishments and being awarded the National Treasure Business Award. Thank you very much for all of being here for us. You don't need me, do you? Yes.
Thank you to Cindy for handling the
Yes, I have a
application.
She did the application awards and now photography. Congratulations.
Also for the Chamber of Commerce Community Support Award.
Yeah. Barbara loves being on that side of the camera, don't you?
All right, so let's move on to the city manager's report.
I know that you're all getting tired of hearing this, but I had a final conference call with FEMA and TDM this week. Supposedly we had finished all the details of the February freeze event. Evidently the funds are gonna be transferred from FEMA to Texas Department of Emergency Management and then to us. I was also informed during the call we might be audited by TDM. So we have to keep the records of this adventure, as I like to call it, for 3 years from the date that TDM sends the money to us. I've said before, we should be getting $32,000 and change. It was a lot of work for not a lot of money. I've been working with Dick Bundy, the architect on the police department building, on the design of the police station remodel. They were having trouble with the holding cells and the problem of the step-down floor. I don't know how many of y'all have been in where the cells are, but there's a couple of steps down, and so in order for it to be ADA compliant, we have to level that floor. And the way we were gonna fix it was gonna have to pull the cells out, level the floor, put the cells back in. Well, that's a really tedious and expensive process, and figured out that it's cheaper to build some concrete tile cells with steel doors and do it like that. So that'll be less expensive. And hopefully, in the near future, we'll have the final plans that we can start the bid process. We continue to have sewer problems all over town, and as before, most of it is in areas that will be replaced. One good thing is we're gonna have to put in a 6-inch water line on Willis Street on the south side. Will serve 6 homes that are being built. So that's a good thing, even though it's expensive. Amazingly, we had no major problems during the cold weather last week or week before, whenever it was. A few homes suffered frozen water lines where we had to turn off water, but nothing major. So that was good news. Stoney and his guys didn't have to go out in the bitter cold. So I have with me tonight our annual water loss report put together by the guys at the water plant. Last year we had losses of over 63 million gallons, which was enough water loss that the Texas Water Development Board took notice of it when we were going through the loan process for the sewer line replacement program. We have dropped that amount down to 21 million gallons, which is a drop of 42 million gallons, or a 66% drop in losses. We can credit the guys at the water plant and the guys on the field crews for the water line replacement we have done over the last year and a half. This speaks highly of the crews supervised by Stoney Lawrence and Jerry Sutton. Also, as a reminder, early voting begins today, so you need to get out there and vote. Anybody have any questions?
On the lost water, like what's an acceptable level?
I don't know. I can't
Less
answer that.
every year?
If Jerry was here, I could tell you, but I can tell you this, that 60-something million gallons is not
That's
acceptable.
not, that seems like a
And
lot.
21 million,
That also seems like a lot.
yeah, but it's closer to being acceptable.
Is that all due mainly just to breaks?
Yeah.
Lines needing
Most-
replaced?
Most of it is with,
Was part of that due to the water tower thing? Or was that the year before?
that was probably the year before. Anyway,
I'll give you a for instance.
I've got a report here if any of y'all wanna look at it, so.
This is an incredible change because the first year I got the water loss report, it was 131 million.
That's also a lot.
So, in the last couple of years, there's been a huge, change in this number, so 100,000 gallons, 100 million gallons. All right, so the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda items, but, we have a quarterly report tonight with our new finance director, so we will look at that first, and then we will accept the minutes from the last meeting. Thank you, Pamela.
Good evening, Mrs. Mayor and City Council. They can hear me without it, trust me. I'm pleased to present the first time to this council the revenue over expenditures for the first quarter of the new budget year, ending in December 31st. As you'll see, 2021 and 22 so far have been a very good year. Your water, wastewater, and electric funds have collected $2.5 million, which is 7% over last year's revenue year to date. But you also see your expenditures are 10% less than last year. So at the very end, you'll see a total profit, halfway down the page, of $452,000. You can also go to page 2 on your balance sheet, and you'll see that same exact amount. That'll tell us that we do balance pretty much to the penny from your revenue expenditures to your balance sheets. Now, if you want to go to your general fund, there again, we're down a little bit from last year collecting on revenues, but yet again, our expenditures are also down. Our revenues are down 6% in our general fund, but our expenditures are down 12%. And that also leaves us with revenue over expenditures of $84,789 in that fund. So all in all, we're a little bit over $500,000 with revenue over expenditures year to date. And I'll answer any questions you may have. I was happy to give this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela.
You got off easy, Pam.
That's because you probably told him I was mean.
Okay, so your minutes are in your package. And if there are no questions or changes, I would entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented for the January 10th regular meeting, the February 7th special meeting, and the quarterly report.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Heffley. Do I have a second?
Second.
Shaw? Love's not here. It's gonna be hard for him to do it. Bates? Aye. Post?
Aye.
Shaw?
Aye.
Heffley?
Aye.
And Gunner?
Aye.
Thank you. Pam, we know you have a long way to drive. If you want to go, you're not gonna offend us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I'm disappointed you're leaving.
I'll hear about it.
Ignore him. Yeah, just ignore him. Okay. On old discussion, I don't have anything, but I am gonna state that Honeywell was here tonight for a workshop and we did not have a quorum. So it has been decided that Honeywell will be on the agenda for the 28th. Next item on the agenda is new business, accept the annual racial profiling report from Police Chief Guy Green.
Good evening. I assume you all have a copy of this, but I won't bore you with all of it, but there were 2,124 traffic stops last year, and they're broken down on where they occurred, the race, the gender, the reason for the stop, searches, and all that kind of information. I'm sure you don't want to hear all that, but if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer any of that. Or try to explain something you don't understand. It's kind of a weird report, but this is the format the state makes us do, so.
So is it acceptable, or is there a disparity in somewhere? Are we racial profiling?
Well, I don't believe that we're racial profiling now. I believe based on the demographic that we have here that we're right where we should be.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know, it seems to lean pretty heavy, one-sided.
Which way? Well, based on the demographic we have. You would expect that.
These are always interesting when he brings them. Any
And
questions?
if you have a question later on, you don't tonight, you can call me, the office, anytime. It doesn't matter. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you. All right, if we don't have any questions, then we're going to entertain a motion to accept this as presented
So moved.
by Mr. Gunner. Do I have a second? Ms. Bates. Heffley.
Aye.
Gunner.
Aye.
Bates. Post.
Aye.
Shaw.
Aye.
The next item on the agenda is to consider the reappointment of Board of Adjustments and Appeals. As you see, there are 4 members there. Each one of them we have to vote on independently. So the first one would be Jimmy Ashley. I would entertain a motion to reappoint Jimmy Ashley to the Board of Adjustments and Appeals.
So moved.
Mr. Gunner, do I have a second?
Second.
Post.
Aye.
Shaw.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Heffley.
Aye.
And Gunner.
Aye.
The next gentleman is Gary Shields. I'd entertain a motion to reappoint Gary Shields.
So moved.
Shaw, do I have a second?
Second.
Post. Heffley.
Aye.
Gunner.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Post.
Aye.
Shaw.
Aye.
The third one on the list is Darren Gill. I'd entertain a motion to reappoint Darren Gill.
I make a motion.
Bates. Second.
Second.
Heffley. Gunner.
Aye.
Heffley.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Post.
Aye.
Shaw.
Abstain.
And the fourth person on the list will be Janell Rodgers. Would entertain a motion to reappoint Janell Rodgers.
So moved.
Post, do I have a second?
Second.
Post,
Aye.
Bates,
Aye.
Heffley,
Aye.
Gunner,
Aye.
Shaw.
Aye.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is to appoint an empty position, to fill an empty position on the Community Development Board, and that nominee is Donna Ballew. I think you all, most of the people in the room know who she is. So I would entertain a motion to appoint Donna Ballew to the Community Development Board.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Shaw? Heffley?
Aye.
Gunner?
Aye.
Bates?
Aye.
Post?
Aye.
Shaw?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is new business. Discussion and action. Resolution 2022-09. A resolution authorizing continued participation with the Atmos Cities Steering Committee and authorizing the payment of 5 cents per capita to the Atmos Cities Steering Committee to fund regulatory and related activities related to Atmos Energy Corporation. Most of you have been here during this time each year we do this, but I know you have not. So would you like to explain to Stephanie what this is about?
You the only one?
Apparently.
Basically, several years ago, before this organization came into existence, when, back then, Lone Star Gas would ask for a rate increase, each city would have to go through the process of deciding whether the rate increase was justified. Unless you were Dallas or Fort Worth or some big metropolitan area, we didn't have the expertise to know whether it was justified or not. And, so cities got together, and I assume it was through TML, to put a program where the cities could get together and pay attorneys, rate attorneys, to keep up with Atmos request on rate increases. And they meet once a month. I get notices of the meeting. They're kind of boring because it's a bunch of lawyer types, and they talk about, more than anything else, they talk about legal side of that. But they also, in the last all year, they've had meetings about the February freeze event and how that came about. You're probably going to see in the near future a huge rate increase from Atmos Energy related to the cold weather, but they hadn't had time to put it together yet. But anyway, the steering committee and the attorneys for them will be the ones that will determine and fight with the Railroad Commission to see whether they get what they ask for or not, so.
Okay.
Basically.
So what is our cost at 5 cents per capita?
For 5,000, so what,
They base it off your population.
it's like 250, 300 bucks, somewhere.
I
in there.
just want to make sure people knew it wasn't that much money.
No, no.
Okay.
It's money well spent.
Yes, it is.
Somebody else doing the haggling and us not having to. So I'd entertain a motion to accept this resolution.
So moved.
Gunner, do I have a second?
A second.
Bates? Shaw?
Aye.
Post?
Aye.
Heffley?
Aye.
Gunner?
Aye.
Bates?
Aye.
All right, the next item on the agenda is to consider a recommendation from the P and Z, so Mr. Calabretta will come forward. From Kenson Vance, DBA Dynamic Duo, to replat lots 2 through 5, Block 1, Ingram Edition, creating lots 2R1 through 2R5, Block 1, Ingram Edition.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. We met as the Planning and Zoning Commission on January 20th, 2021 to consider this request from Kenson Vance, and we passed that unanimously when we voted on it. And it takes 3 long, narrow lots and makes one narrow lot, and then 4 other usable lots for them there at Willis Street and Green Street. So the 4 lots will have entry on Willis Street, and that 1 lot will have entry on Green Street. So that's, we recommended that it was a good change for those lots. Any questions?
No concern from yourself or David? On
What's
any of
that?
Any concern? No, I guess there was
Oh,
no,
sorry.
there was no concern from
No,
the,
not
anybody?
those. No, they didn't seem to
Okay.
have. Okay. All right.
Okay, no more questions? Good. Thank you, Mr. Calabretta. We appreciate that. Going back to my. Sorry, I got lost. All right. I would entertain a motion to accept the replat from the Planning and Zoning Committee.
So moved.
Mr. Shaw, do I have a second?
Second.
Post? Heffley?
Aye.
Gunner?
Aye.
Bates?
Aye.
Shaw?
Aye.
Post?
Aye.
All right. The next item on the agenda is a presentation from Stony Lowrance, Public Works Director. Do we want to turn the lights down? There, see it better.
First of all, thank you, council. I know y'all have busy schedules, so I'll try to make this quick. First of all, the reason I put this together, again, I know y'all are all busy, and I'd really like to take each and every one of you around to look at this, but I figured, like I said, that with y'all's busy schedules, I'd just bring it to you. These are kind of some drainage issues that I'm gonna go through that, and we're gonna start here on Highway 59 at Lindsay, right there by Alsop's, and kind of give you the issues we're having and some of the things I think we should do to try to correct those. Basically, on this one right here, we basically just need to go in there and put a concrete bottom on the exit and put some slopes in there. It's kind of, if you look at the picture to your left there, it kind of keeps eroding and over there by the telephone pole. So that one's not a real big issue, if we'll go to the next slide. Cooper Street here, this has been an issue that's been going on for some time, that we kind of inherited. But if you would, Sandy, go to the next one.
Can you get that black box off the screen?
This is the exit side of Cooper there, going down towards Small Street. And I'll kind of, if we'll go to the next one, please. If you see right, this is the entrance side coming off of 59. They used to have a concrete bottom in there. It's partially has a rock wall. But if you'll see in the middle there, the concrete is gone, so the water's actually flowing underneath it, and it's starting to wash out the bottom of both those walls. So that's a big issue right there. And if I don't know if you can see it, that far side over there, it looks like a pipe hanging there. That's a 2-inch water line. That would have to be relocated. Okay. And this is where, actually, the gentleman that bought that property there kind of tried to stop some of the flow there by dumping in some heavy pieces of concrete, which it's not going to alleviate any of the problem there. And then this drain goes on around to Raymond and Small. And that's where it comes down Small Street, where it'll turn and go into Mill Street. This is where, at one point, there was actually a retaining wall made out of rock that went around there. And as you can see, at some point over the years, the property owners put up that tin wall to kind of try to keep the water out of their yards. So that, in that area there, that wall needs to be rebuilt. Same with this retaining wall. That retaining wall actually used to be about a foot off that fence. It's starting to collapse and fall in. So now you can see where when the water comes around, it's actually splitting the wall and really not serving its purpose. All right, here's the bad stuff. This is underneath Mill Street, where it crosses to go into Kiwanis Park. That is a 6-inch sewer line. Further under there, there's a 6-inch water line. That big pipe sticking out over there is a 4-inch gas line. Same thing on this, all the concrete's gone there. The water, if you can see to the left of the picture there, all the water's starting to go under the wall. It's actually starting to separate on the top side of the wall. This is probably one of my biggest concerns right here that we need to look at addressing. In this area right here, I highly recommend that you go back with all concrete boxes in that area. With the biggest problem that, in all these drains is you need concrete footings and concrete bottoms at your entrances and exits to alleviate a lot of that erosion. If you don't have those, you're just throwing money out the window. And again, you can see that where that 4-inch gas line comes through there. And that will all have to be relocated with Atmos once you get in there. But this area right here really concerns me. And again, there's a closer look at you can see on the side of that sewer line where stuff comes through there and hits it all the time, and eventually it's probably going to bust that sewer line.
Do we ever clean those things out?
We just cleaned that a month ago, and
Really?
we went
That's
back
what
and
had
took those pictures.
Perhaps
So.
somebody threw a washing
Yeah.
stove or something in there.
We pull trash cans, bicycles, you name it. We pulled them out of there. And a lot of trees, people dump a lot of trees in there. And that causes us a lot of problems on our culverts. And that's the reason if you're gonna fix these things, all of these need to go back with concrete boxes, to one, to expand your space, and you don't have to worry about stuff getting jammed up in there as much. And kind of that's the exit side, and you'll see right behind the fence there, that's where that big gas meter is that comes across there. Nelson Street here, I think, we kind of did the park stuff and tried to alleviate this, and I think we all know, we discussed it at some point, we still have issues under Nelson there. And if you look at those tin horns on there, they're not supposed to be shaped like that. And what happens is the bottoms are gone, just like that 300 and something feet we pulled out across the street. They're all the same. There's no bottoms. I've actually had my guys crawl in there and try to clean those out, and it's just way too dangerous, and them trying to be under there trying to clean that out. But all the bottoms are gone in all three of those. And again, this is going to be a costly repair too, because I would recommend doing away with those and putting concrete boxes. Not only does it help you with your debris that gets in there, it helps you to keep your flow going. And here's the side that we tried, when we took all that out originally, that's as far back as we could go to where we actually had somewhat of some culverts that were in somewhat good condition to where we could actually do that, and that's just a temporary thing. This is where it comes across Nelson in that drain box. The bottom left picture there, or my left, I don't know, is when those were put in, they kind of just put them in there and just dumped it all together. Nothing's tied in. So everything in between there is where the tin horns have rotted out, and that's all debris that gets hung up in there. So your water's not even going through the tin horn, just running between them. The top left picture, there's a hole up there by that grate that we've tried to fill in this numerous times. There's a tin horn that runs there 200 feet back towards the intersection of Mill. That thing is starting to collapse too. It needs to be replaced. So you got, everything's going to come right there in one section. And again, the picture on the bottom right, you can kind of see where they've all rotted out. And that's kind of where we did what we did with the small amount of money that we had. We tried to fix that. Now, I'll say that retaining wall we put on that property over there, we haven't had any issues with that, so as far as flooding on our behalf. So it worked out real well. Pillar and rock. This is, again, another big issue where the tin horns have started to rot out underneath. If you look at that top right picture, you'll see that right up by that railing, you'll see that hole in the road. Or right above that, we had just went in there and backfilled that with concrete because that tin horn is blowing out on the side. So when what happens when the water gets next to it, it washes all the dirt out. So then the only thing that's going to happen is the road's going to collapse on top of it because there's nothing to hold it up. And this is the exit side. Now this looked a lot better, and Mr. Cunningham will tell you, he was there when we did this. We had to rip all, probably, if I remember, 100 feet of that pipe out. And we couldn't go any further back, and this is what we kept getting. And this is where we pulled out trash cans, and one of those drains wasn't even flowing at all. So when we did what we did down on Nelson, we had to open this up just to get the water out, and that's what we wound up with. This road, I believe, back in 2015, completely, the top of it blew out. And from my understanding, I wasn't there then, but my understanding is instead of going in there and replacing all the tin horns in, they only replaced one. And I'm thinking, I wasn't in charge over that, so I don't know what the issue was at. I would have replaced them all while the road was blown out, but anyway. And that gives you a better shot of what it looks like coming out. And we'll go to the south side. This is, you see right next to that, there is a old clay concrete drain that comes across Wichita and then runs down the length of Green Street there and then crosses Green and goes under Will Barger. Same thing, there's those sinkholes from that mailbox all the way back to Wichita where all that line is starting to collapse. And what they did here where it comes across Green, and they had a concrete box there, and what they did there with that clay tile, they just kind of set it inside of that. It's not tied together, it just kind of dumps in there. So really you lose a lot of water. It's really a bad design. And these are what the culverts look like going across underneath Wilbarger. And as you can see, the bottom left one, the bottoms are gone. And then what causes those to start sinking like that is the tin orange are rotted out in the bottom, and then the road starts pushing the weight down of it, and eventually you wind up losing your road. And that'll be the exit side on Wilbarger. Same thing, if you look like I mentioned earlier, somebody attempted to put a concrete flat bottom in it, but it's not what it really should look like. This is, I kind of tried to figure out what this would cost, and honestly, because of the amount of it, it will have to be engineered because it's going to be more than $50,000. And to do Mill Street, and I highly recommend that, you know, at some point we look at this and do Mill Street, Nelson, and Pillar and Rock all at the same time, because it all coincides with one another. And to get in there and get hire a contractor that's got a big crew that can get in there and get out. A true number will come from an engineering design, but if I put a number to it, to complete just what we've looked at tonight, I believe easily you'll spend $5 to $6 million.
It looks like in all those places there, we took our excess concrete and just dumped it out in those holes.
Yeah, and that's exactly what has happened over the years. And like I say, this isn't something that happened overnight. It's like a lot of things that we have on our infrastructure. It's been created for quite some time and just gotten worse. And I don't want to scare y'all or anything. I just wanted y'all to be aware that not only, you know, with the sewer and water problems we have, we've got some other serious issues going on too. Now this Wilbarger, unless, you know, this here, you know, if you wanted to go back with culverts on it, you could probably do it and save a little money. You still have to, you know, try to put some bottoms in them, and some head walls would help. You could do that one a little cheaper, but those main crossings that we have school buses on, Mill and Nelson and Pillar and Rock, I highly recommend that you do it right and do concrete boxes. And that Pillar and Rock, really on that one, that drain needs to be turned, because if you ever go there and look at it, it comes down and it has to 45. Well, the water there on that last culvert, it doesn't even serve any purpose. The water goes over the top of the road because it can't make that turn. That actually needs to come back and try to straighten it out to where it's more of a straight shot going across there. Now, and we've got, and I just kind of touched on the worst stuff. We've got others too, but I didn't want to overwhelm you because this is a lot right here. Any questions?
So Mill and Nelson are the two busiest streets we have with the school buses. And then when the school puts in their new facilities on Nelson,
That's going to change everything.
that's gonna displace even more water.
Right,
Then we're gonna have to figure out what to do with it.
right.
Just out of curiosity, where would we come up with this money right here?
Well,
right now, I'm gonna, go ahead, Tom.
I was just going to say, as far as, you know, Bert, we have tried numerous grants, and the grants that we've applied for, we actually got one, but it didn't cover anything that we wanted to cover. It was more of erosion stuff, you know.
Nothing to do with
Right.
any of the bridges or anything. It was all erosion control. It was through the Soil Conservation Service, and if y'all will recall, I turned it down, turned it back, because all they wanted to do was put riprap in the creek, and that would have caused more flooding. And I got that information, not from me, but from an engineer. We're currently looking at the grant from, the FEMA, the grant will be, a 75-25 grant, so if it costs $5 million to do it, we'll have to come up with $1,250,000. If it costs $6 million, $1.5 million. So, you know, there's some hesitancy about even applying for the grant, because coming up with that, our share of the grant funding would be pretty stiff. But we're moving forward to that. I've kind of started the process last week to start looking at that and doing it. So go ahead, Tony, I'm sorry.
Just to give you an idea on those concrete boxes, depending on how many you would have to put in each one. Those things are figured in by the ton, and they usually run $350 to $400 a ton. And one of those boxes usually weighs about 10 tons. So you're looking at $35,000 to $4,000 a piece, just to put those boxes in. And some of those areas, it's probably gonna take 12 of those boxes just to do that. And then you're talking your head walls, your concrete, your bottoms, your slopes. And that's where I come up with that kind of figure. And prices aren't getting any cheaper, so.
As far as timeline, what does that look like if you started today?
Well, I can tell you right now, I don't have the crew or the equipment to do it, and that's why I highly recommend, you really need to do mill, like I said, I highly recommend doing a bid for mill and Nelson at the same time. Get somebody in there that can get in and get out, that's got the equipment, got the crews. They're gonna be bonded and insured, that way if we have a problem with the sewer water line or gas line, it doesn't fall back on the city. I mean, there's a lot of factors and areas that you want to hire a contractor. I would say, and it really depends on how you write your contract and how it's engineered. I mean, you can write a contract with somebody that says, I give you, 90 days.
Right.
And after 90 days, you get penalized so many dollars per day that you haven't completed the project. It just depends on how you write your contract with that contractor. And we do that, at the airport when we do that. That's how the TxDOT does it. I think it's $1,000 a day if you don't meet your deadlines. You get weather delays and stuff like that, but when you do that, you sign a contract that they complete the job in a time frame. You just don't say, hey, I'm gonna hire you and here you go.
But typically, when you're engineering that, the engineers come up with a pretty good timeline.
Right.
There'll be days where, rain days in the contract that they schedule for. If it rains that day, or the next day, that doesn't go against the time, so.
And your biggest deal in those areas is when like I say, even with the engineer and a contract, you take all the liability off the city. And you take off, if they're in there, let's say they're in there and they're halfway done and we get a 6-inch rain and it washes everything out, sorry, they gotta eat that.
Yeah.
Where if we did it, we'd be eating that.
If we cut it up into sections as far as, taking one bite at a time, is that possible, or is the bulk of this need to happen, like you said, on the Nelson and Mill Street, that's gonna be?
Like I said, those two, I would think you need to do those together. Actually, like I said, they all kind of go together. It comes in across this mill, it goes across Nelson, and it exits up Pillar. So they kind of go, if you increase your flow and get your flow right from Mill and across Nelson, what's it gonna do to Pillar and Rocks? So you have to do your numbers on that to see your volume and your flow, how much it increases by doing what you've done. And that's why you hire an engineer to kind of figure all that thing.
I guess my thought is, if we're unsuccessful with the grants or can't get what we need, then we're gonna have to figure out some kind of something. I know nobody wants a Band-Aid on it, but if it's not there, then.
Yeah. I mean, you could probably get by with doing, a couple at a time and then maybe wait a little longer. But like I said, in that area, even what we did to open it up and get the water out of there to stop the flooding there, that created more pressure down there on Pillar and Rock.
I see.
So if we were gonna do it one at a time, we'd have to come backwards.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, you could do that. And that's kind of what I said before when we started that and tried to alleviate some of the problems we had, is you needed to start up at Pillar and Rock and work your way back.
So correct me if I'm wrong, the presentation tonight is to make the council aware that first we're working on a grant to possibly get at least 3 of these started, and you all need to go by and see these in person, because I've walked them with Stoney a dozen times, and each time we go, it's worse every time. My biggest concern is Mill, especially Mill, because, school bus falls into a hole there, and the $6 million isn't gonna be nothing compared to what's gonna happen to us there. But with Nelson and Mill both being in severe need of repair, you guys just need to be aware that this is gonna happen. Sometime in the next couple of years, this is gonna have to happen, sooner the better.
Well, I'm just thankful right now that, obviously this has been an ongoing problem for a long time, and what we get into a lot of time is that we wait till it gets so bad. So I'm hoping with us taking this in consideration, that you look at everything that we got. We're aware of all the problems that we have. We make future program to try to fix all these things instead of waiting until they get so bad that we have to spend all of our money trying to just, well, we don't want to Band-Aid them. But I will assure you, I mean, we run into a lot of problems like that. If water's running underneath the drains, all stuff, it's not gonna work.
Right.
And so I don't care what gravel you put in there or whatever, it's just not gonna work. So we gotta figure out, I'm hoping that we can get some grants help and do that. Obviously, we don't have the money right now to do that, but I can assure you that we're willing to try to reach any means we can to try to get it all fixed.
I appreciate you always keeping us up to
Yeah,
date on this
me
stuff
too.
and
I thank you
letting
for
us
that.
know.
And like I said, it's just, you know, I recognize it, and like I said, I know y'all are all busy, and y'all try to do your jobs, and that's kind of want to simplify and just bring it all at once and let everybody see it at once. But you're more than welcome. Anytime you want to come look at it with me, just give me a holler.
I'm hollering at you,
Okay.
so get with me.
All right, not a problem.
Plus, he has this presentation too, if you want. He can send it to you, if you can look at the pictures a little bit closer at your own pace
But
too.
before we go, I'd like to thank Cindy Roller for this, because she actually come out and helped me out and took these pictures and put this together for me. She did a great job.
We knew it was you, Cindy.
Yeah, we knew it was
There
you.
was not.
Yeah, we never questioned Stoney took those pictures.
Well, you might as well stay at the podium.
Yeah.
Because the next one is a request to use infrastructure funds to lay a water line on Willis Street.
If I could, the update on the Teaglin and Mason, that we asked for the funds on that back in December, I believe. I just now got my pipe in last Friday. So we've completed some of it over there, so we're hopefully gonna get started on that pretty quick. It's taking a while to get pipe right now. Just real quick on Willis Street, I think Bert mentioned it earlier, and y'all approved a zoning thing over there on these homes. Currently on that street over there, it only has a 1-inch water line. It's gonna require a 6-inch water line, and it's a little over 600 feet of water line. We'll also need to install 2 new fire hydrants over there. There's one off Hutchinson, I believe, but it's old, so I'm just gonna relocate it right across and put two new hydrants in. And again, it's gonna take it's taking, a couple months just to get pipe in right now, so it's gonna be a few months. Just the supplies only is gonna run around $20,000. Pipe is at $17 a foot right now. Yeah, it used to be 12.
Last year, we applied for a community development block grant for a water line down Hutchinson Street. It would be nice if we could tie this into that, but we didn't get the grant last year. You don't get grants. If you get funded one year, you won't get it the next, even though you apply for it. So we're applying for the same thing, so we can tie that Hutchinson Street water line into this, and make it so that we don't have to do this anymore, without some grant funding coming in, so. Anyway, that's what we're looking at.
So lots of things going on.
So we have to put in a water line if they're gonna build houses there. We don't have any choice.
Yeah, they have to.
So, I mean, this is kind of mute, but he's letting you know that
Are
it's
we
gonna cost
required to do
money.
that? I mean, is the city required to put in water
Yes.
lines for new construction?
Yes, we have a
Unless,
certificate of necessity, certificate of convenience and necessity, that requires that we service the people that are in our CCN area. Period.
the only time that changes, and tell me if I'm wrong, Bert, is if you're going in and developing a whole new area, then the rules kind of change a little bit. But if it's existing there, then you have to supply it.
And so you know why we're going with 6-inch line. TCQ now requires that when we put in a water line, we put in 6-inch line. That's the minimum.
6-inch for residential and 8 for commercial.
That's a
industrial.
lot of water.
Yeah. Well, Doug will like it. He'll have 2 new fire hydrants and have plenty
Yeah,
of
that's a
pressure.
lot of water.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is, the reason I ask that is because I want the people to be aware that are developing those things in that situation, like Kent's and them, that they approved to put houses in there, and then you can't get them water that they need to sufficiently do it, then we're doing them an injustice.
Right.
So I just want to make sure that we're aware that we're required, if they're in the city, that we need to provide the services in order to make the things better for everybody.
Correct.
So is this a vote? Oh, I'm gonna ask for a motion to, approve at least $20,000 for this water line.
This is money that's gonna be taken out of the infrastructure fund.
So moved.
Shaw, do I have a second?
I second it.
Gunner? Heffley?
Aye.
Gunner?
Aye.
Shaw?
Aye.
Post?
Aye.
Bates?
Aye.
Well, do we have any public comments? If not, I am going to adjourn this meeting at, I don't know what time, 6:48.
Happy Valentine's.
Okay, time to go.